Oh, okay.
Was
Okay.
mildly successful.
What a transaction would look like. Good afternoon. I'm Randy Mays Knapp.
Howdy. I apologize for my voice from the start. It was kind of a big game here on Saturday, and I'm still not recovered from that. So bear with me as we get through this. Thank you, Dr. Reister, for inviting me to speak here today. And I think that the program that you guys are in is one that I would recommend to anybody. I think entrepreneurship is a great path for anyone to choose, and I think that this program is going to benefit you guys greatly. Hopefully I won't bore y'all any more than the normal professors do. So I have my mom and dad here and my wife and my daughter unexpectedly. And so I'll try not to embarrass them either. So as you read my bio, I grew up in Centerville, Texas, and it was quite the place to grow up. My brother and I, he's Steve, he also played here at Texas A&M, were passionate about sports, and we were raised by parents that taught us unreal competition and things of that nature. And of course, we went up and battled each other on a regular basis as kids normally would. And I grew up in Aggie, and I was fortunate enough to play football here, and I took it from there. And I also took my education very important to me. It was very important to me to get my degree. I was able to get my undergraduate degree in management information systems, or at the time it was called that, now it's called informations and operations management. And I got my master's degree in management information systems. And after that, I was drafted in the NFL, and I played for 8 years. I was drafted by Miami. Played there 5 years. I played in Cleveland 2 years, and then with the Buffalo Bills for a year. It was a great opportunity, and I learned a tremendous amount about it. It was always my dream to play at A&M, and it taught me so much. And you always hear about Nick Saban talking about the process, and the process, I'm just going to read it because it's like I like to use his definition, but the process is a mental framework for personal and team growth. It discourages fixation on outcomes like trophies or wins, instead placing the highest value on sustained effort and continuous improvement through habits and discipline, aligning with elements of the Stoic philosophy. And that's what it's all about. The process is going about, and just like in anything that you choose to do in your entrepreneurial path, is that you have to have a process, and you don't result. Resulting is a poker term made up by Andy Duke, and that's where you can't judge a decision based on the outcome. And that's like in football, in business, or anything like that. You judge the decision based on the process that you use to get the outcome. And that's what makes teams great. That's what makes business people great. That's what makes students great, is that just because you made an A on a test doesn't mean that you're going to make an A on the next one. But I guarantee you, if you have your process down and you made an A, you will make an A on the next one, because you have a process to go about studying and memorizing what you have to memorize and things of that nature. Same with the business world, and anything that you get into, is that whatever it is that you choose to do, there is a process, and the result that you get will be there over and over again if you have the correct process in place. But football taught me discipline, teamwork, and resilience. It taught me to deal with failure, and some of the biggest things I've learned in life have come from times that I've failed outside of, or during football or outside of football and business, is that if you fail, that's not the end of the world. You can take what happened to you and move on to the next one. Just like football, if you don't try something new on a pass block technique or something of that nature, you won't ever learn how to pass block correctly, because you'll be too scared to do the right thing. And after doing the right thing over and over and over and over again, then you build the confidence. But that's when you get to learning how to deal with success. And you got to understand that there's one of my favorite authors, Ryan Holiday, has a book called The Ego is the Enemy. And that also cautions you about being too cocky and not dealing with success in the right way. But those are some of the things that I learned in transitioning into what I do on a regular basis. And Sago Capital, we formed in 2020 during the COVID outbreak, which is kind of an interesting time to put an investment real estate company together. But we're focused on preserving investor capital while providing favorable risk-adjusted returns. I partnered up with my partner in Stafford Barrett Commercial Real Estate Brokerage, Barry Moore, and then partnered up with Jeremy Osborne, who had a nice exit from an oil and gas compression firm called Pegasus Optimization Partners. We focus on acquiring undervalued assets and growing markets, particularly in the southeastern U.S. and the Midwest. And we invoke a conservative, transparent approach to the way we do business for our stakeholders, investors, everybody involved that we deal with. And I think that's the best way to approach dealing with anyone. Our investment thesis when we look at a property is a low cost per square foot basis, and I think that helps you mitigate risk. And I think that when Dr. Reister said it is a risky business, but I think how you operate under risk is how you build trust in the business community. And I'm not saying that we're perfect, but we haven't had anything go wrong yet, knock on wood. But you always have optionality in commercial real estate. I think that's the best way to approach doing a deal, is that you know your worst case scenario. I really don't care about my best case scenario. I care about my worst case scenario most of all. Best case scenario is going to take care of itself as long as we operate the way that we're supposed to operate. We look at immediate cash flowing deals that are typically cash flowing and yielding at about 8.5%. And I say that, but that's just a calculation that you use on the net operating income of a property and what the value of that property is. And if you're able to return cash flows above debt service and things of that nature to your investors. So that's what we focus on, not solely, but that is something that we do. Below market rents, if you look at a deal and it has below market rents, that's an opportunity. And I'll talk about more of that on the key acquisitions and success stories here in a second. But that's something that when you see a property that it does have below market rents, it's something that you need to take a look at further, because that might be a good opportunity for you. And then strategic improvements and efficient management that drive up value appreciation, which I'll talk through in a acquisition success story, which I have coming up. This is what makes commercial real estate fun to me, and what makes it my passion and what I do every day is looking at deals. And you could call me a deal junkie or whatever it is that you want to call me, but that's what's fun to me. And I think when you go through your entrepreneurial journey, you know, not everything in life is fun. I mean, I didn't, I love football. I got into something right after football that wasn't real fun to me, and then immediately jumped into commercial real estate, which is a lot of fun, and I love it, and I'm passionate about it, and I think it's a way to make money for the rest of my life, and I think it's a very conservative way to invest in your money. But yeah, I could talk all day about this. The first one I want to talk about is a property that we just acquired in Augusta, Kansas, in Wichita. The tenant is a publicly traded company called VSE. They're in the aviation business. And I originally just came upon this deal, and I saw that it was yielding 8.5%. I threw out an offer on, that's what I wanted to get the deal at. And that was probably a year and a half ago. And for one other reason or another, it went away. It came back about 4 months ago, and we finally were able to work out a deal where it was yielding 12%. I'm saying a bunch of things. That's just great cash flow is what that means. And it was a very difficult deal, but I think that's what makes me passionate about it, and that's what's fun to me, is being able to work through a deal that is other people wouldn't take the time to work through. And it took forever to work out lease terms that were correct, because the owner of the building was one of the owners of this company that got bought out by VSE, and they became a tenant. And so it just worked out that they came back at that 12% yield, and we were able to flatline the rent payment where there wasn't a big differential in cash flow. And we were able to get it. We had a $37 a square foot basis, which in a nightmare scenario, that's nothing. I mean, that's a lot of safety in that deal. So those are the kind of things that I really love and that I'm passionate about. And that one was especially difficult to work through, and we finally got that closed Friday, in fact, so I can talk about it. This one was a similar story. This is in Columbia, Missouri, where University of Missouri is located. The tenant is Carfax, which is owned by S&P Global, and they're publicly traded. And same situation, we chased it, and they came back like 9 months later, and we were able to get this one at a 13% yield. It was during COVID, and everybody was staying home, or I forget what I guess it was over. Like in Texas, people were back to work. But in Columbia, Missouri, and things of that nature, they were still telling people to stay home and work remotely. So that the owner of this building panicked, and we kind of were like, regardless of what happens, if they come back or they don't come back, there's good value there. And the short-term lease, and it was yielding so much that the cash flow was there that we built a huge reserve in case of a worst-case scenario. And well, guess what? The return to work narrative took over, and they came back into the office. We were able to renew the lease for 10 years, and that created tremendous value once you've got a long-term lease, and we'll potentially exit that for 2x on equity. So that remains to be seen, but that's also another good one. This one is right down the road at 402 Harvey Mitchell Parkway, the Garver Engineering Building. We bought it 50% occupied, and it was still cash flowing even at those terms. We were able to incentivize them to take over 50% of the remaining space. So they're now the sole tenant of that property, and it's fully leased, and we extended that lease as well for out to like 7 years or something of that nature. And now it's a really secure and safe deal from being 50% occupied. This is one that we exited. We went in as well. This is the classic scenario where you look at a property and you start digging, and you find the financials, and they're handwritten. And those are kind of deals you need to look at extra hard if you're looking into getting into real estate, because that means they're not owned by a sophisticated owner for the most part. I'm not trying to belittle anyone that handwrites financials, but that's always a good sign that you're looking at a property that you can turn around. And we were able to convert what they had gross leases, and a gross lease means that they pay a fixed amount, and the owner, which was us, has to pay every expense. And so we were able to convert that into a triple net lease, which is they pay for everything, rent, expenses, and everything, and you just have to cover your note and manage the property in that way. And we were able to adjust all those to triple net leases and clean up financials and get that thing marketed, and we were able to exit with quite a return. So that was also a very exciting deal. This is probably the best deal that I've ever been a part of, and we bought it off market in 2020 again, and during the peak COVID, and everybody didn't know what was going on, and it was off market. We had 7.5 years of rent left, but at a ridiculously low, below market rent. And again, what I said earlier about finding deals that cash flow is that when you look at and below market rents, I said that earlier as well, but when you look at a deal and it has rent that that can be marked up, and in this case 7.5 years, there's value there, you're going to at least double your money in 7.5 years, and probably even more than that with the way that rents get bumped up in deals. But that was one that I would do 100 times over. It's tenanted by Ply Gym, a window manufacturer. There's actually a Ply Gym in Bryan with a big industrial building as well. And we bought it at a 10% yield, even at 50% below market rents. So in 2027, when we're able to mark this lease to market, which means get a market-based rent, we're probably going to achieve about a 4x return on equity, and that's just at today's number. If rents don't go up any further in 2 years, which I'd be shocked if they didn't. So this one is on the development side with Amstad Development. This is Charleston Mills townhomes. This is located on Holloman, on the, I guess, what would that be, the south side of Holloman from 2818. And we're doing a 260 unit townhome development there. Phase 1 was accomplished this year, and we sold out in 3 months. And we've already broken ground for phase 1B, and it should be going vertical here in December, we believe. And at the end of the day, and that's going to take a while, but in 2028, it's potentially going to be $100 million in sales if everything goes the way that we think it would go. And that one took a while to get started. We've been in contact with that landowner for 5 years before we were able to not convince him, but just earn his trust and in our ability to operate and earn his trust and our ability to manage his land the way that he wants it. And so that was a great business lesson right there in itself, is that you can't just do these deals overnight, especially in real estate. That's something that takes a lot of time and it takes a lot of trust to develop. And at the end of the day, this is going to be a really great deal for us. So building a business from scratch during the global pandemic, that was a crazy time. I just was, and the first thing that went through my head was, well, if we're going broke, we're all going broke. I mean, because tenants weren't able to make money, landlords didn't have rent coming in because tenants couldn't pay rent, banks. I mean, there was such an operation in place during that time for tenants, for landlords, and with the banks through whatever they did with the FDIC dealing and telling the banks to deal with property owners, is that we were able to get loan extension or loan forgiveness, not the forgiveness, extensions, if you will, for 3 months, working with tenants to preserve their capital to be able to pay rent, to pay us back, and preserve their capital to pay their employees. So I commend the whole process during that time period, because nobody knew what was going on for a period of time. And of course, once things got going, we were able to take a deep breath and relax, but there was a solid month of panic and trying to deal with banks and landlords and employees. And so during that you learn quite a bit during that time on how to deal with a true emergency. And make no mistake, it really was. And there was uncertainty, there were financing hurdles, operational hurdles, but of course, the Federal Reserve, the Fed, did a tremendous thing, and they dropped rates, they bought bonds. Now, whether they kept them too low and bought too much, that's another story. But they did the right thing for the time being. And so I give America credit for saving America. It was just a very meaningful time to start a business and to do deals and to get things done. And it took a lot of strategy from a lot of people. So persistence paid off. And we talk about leveraging a strong network, and that's a little bit about the Aggie network. You all are blessed to be Aggies. The Aggie network is the most powerful thing going at A&M. And if you don't take advantage of it, you're failing yourself as an entrepreneur. I'm not saying you take advantage of other Aggies. Aggies want to help Aggies. And anytime you're talking to someone, everybody just know that for the most part, Aggies want to help you succeed. And that's why I'm here. I want to help you succeed, and I know that that's why my parents and everybody else that's in this room is here, is that they want to have you succeed and be great Aggies as well, so you can further this network. So leverage the network that you have. strong conservative underwriting, investor trust. We talked about that. And then some key takeaways from the field are just resilience and persistence. Persistence is action plus patience. And I read that the other day, and I was like, that's a great way to put things, is that you can be persistently patient, and that'll take you to failure. But if you put action with patience, then that's what's going to take you to success. And again, that starts with the process. And you can't ever be bored with the process. I know that you hear, well, I've heard coaches talk about it, because I did play under Saban. That's all he talked about was the process. But that's what leads to success, is the process, and doing the same thing over and over again, and being persistent and patient and taking action and doing it again and learning from your mistake, never dwelling on what went wrong or what went right for too long. And the other thing I talked about was optionality in real estate. That's one of the things that in football, they have audibles, right? But also in my personal way of doing real estate is that you have to think of what's the worst case scenario, like I talked about. So those are some things that took away. Giving back and leading forward. I think it's especially something we emphasize at Sago and Stafford Barrett, are taking active roles in the community. I was a part of the Brazos Valley Economic Development Corporation, which is now the Greater Brazos Partnership. I was a part of that for 6 years. I just rolled off the board as chairman and past chair this year. And it's something that I think is a great organization. I just joined the Aggie Real Estate Board, which is furthering Aggie real estate education. It's going to also be a major at Texas A&M at some point in the future. And I am on the board of the Aggie Real Estate Network. And my partners are active in the community as well. And it's something that we encourage our employees to be too, through the Chamber of Commerce or whatever it is that they are going to be. And I would encourage you to do the same thing as entrepreneurs, is that not only the Aggie Network, but the network of wherever it is that you decide to locate, whether that's Centerville, Texas, or Houston, Texas, or whatever it is, get involved in your community, meet people, and that's how you're able to grow and to help get information and help get put in contact with the right people. There's nothing wrong with being a reciprocal relationship. You help someone, they help you. You need something, they need something. That's how things get done in life. I think that's how the world operates. I think I saw one time, like Adam Grant put it out, but there's like give and take, right? If you never give or you never take, you're just stepped over and you're a pushover and things of that nature. And then if you are the ultimate giver and taker, then that's the most successful people in life are the ones that give the most and they also take the most. That's just how this world works. And that's how it works as an entrepreneur. You don't want to be too much of a pushover, and you can't be what is labeled a jerk if you're just a taker. You have to be a mix of both, giving and taking, and that's what's going to lead you the furthest in life. And we talked about the Sago community engagement. Mentorships and internship programs, we offer those. If that's something that you guys are interested in, feel free to reach out. You have my email. We do have those programs at both companies, then I would love to help. The road ahead for us, expand our investment portfolio, keep focusing on what we are doing, stay in the process, don't try to do things that aren't out of our realm of operations. And regarding the market, we think the market is going to be better in 2025. I think the Federal Reserve will continue to reduce rates a little bit. I don't think it'll be as drastic as a lot of people thought it would be, but I think they'll continue to reduce rates. And then as a company, we'll continue commitment to transparency and responsible management and investor engagement through events like the Midway Summit. And I would encourage you to think about attending an event like that. It's a community event, typically I guess in the spring, put on by my partner Jeremy Osborne. And it was an interesting summit. I think you can learn a lot from it. and I'm sure that there would be some kind of discount, limited number of discounts for student attendance, and I think we can probably work that out. I won't tell them I did that though. And then finally, yeah, that's I just want to reiterate the importance of resilience and adaptability and community engagement. I think that those are the things that will really take you far in life. And I'm happy to talk anything about commercial real estate. I'm happy to talk about football. I'm happy to talk about family, whatever it is that you want me to talk about. So feel free to ask any questions.
And I was wondering what your biggest piece of advice you wish you would have received following graduation that would have set you up maybe better for success, and then your take on family life balance or family work balance.
Well, I'll tell you a piece of advice that I did get. How about that? I hate to not answer the first one exactly right, but when I was playing here, Greg Hill, a former running back at Texas A&M, came and talked to us and broke us down. And whether I don't know where he heard it or he made it up, but I thought it was brilliant. But he said that the smartest people have two plans, and I really took that to heart at the time. I think I was my junior year, and I was adamant about my academics, and I also wanted to play in the NFL. But I think it would be foolish to only focus on one or the other. Well, I mean, focus on your academics for sure, but I'll focus only on football would have been bad on my part to do. And that's the avenue that I took is both. And when you're playing in the NFL, even when year 8, I'm playing, I know that my career is going to end. And then you always have to be thinking about, and then what? And that is something that no one really wants to think about. But I went down a bunch of different paths. I took the LSAT, which was very, very difficult, and I applied to law schools and didn't go that route. I entered into the workforce in investment banking and did that as well. I would definitely say that again, I mentioned it before, but optionality in whatever it is, that's not a bad thing. I know some people have a big burn the boats mentality. I think that some of the big venture capitalists and things of that say that, but there's nothing wrong with, even on a day job, focusing on something that you're passionate about, and that passion turning into something bigger than what you thought it ever could be. Now, regarding family life balance, that's something that I chose from the get-go. And I'm going to say this, but I respect every coach out there in America. I've had great coaches. They've been great people to me, great mentors, and they have molded me into the person that I am today. So I have a lot of respect for coaches. However, I do acknowledge the fact that the family life balance of a coach is very difficult, and I made the conscious choice to not go down that route. And it would have been a lot of fun, and I would have loved it, but it would have also been very difficult on my family. I go back to my last game at Buffalo. I was at my buddy Jeff Handgardner, who played at A&M's house, and there was a knock on the door, and it was real late at night, and it was one of the quality control guys who he became a head coach. I don't want to mention his name, but he became a head coach, and he had his 2 or 3 year old son that he was keeping up. I was like, man, he's keeping him up late, and he's like, yeah, I do this so I can see him, because otherwise he wouldn't have been able to see him. I was like, oh man, that's tough. And there are stories like that all the time of coaches, and it's a very difficult life, but it's one that, trust me, I respect those people that choose that life, because they mold men or boys into becoming men, for sure.
Hi, my name is Nina Kepner, and I'm a business major from Pearl, Texas. And I was wondering what your recommendation is for the best way to break into the real estate industry after graduation.
Yeah, well, first of all, I would say even, if you have time, look into getting your real estate license, because in the commercial real estate, I know in the residential world, I'm pretty sure you have to have it to do anything, but in the commercial real estate world, you can intern and analyze deals and do a lot of things like that as an intern. But to actually make money on a deal, or a commission, if you will, you have to have your license. So I would recommend looking at trying to get your license as step one. And my second step would be find someone that will teach you real estate, or find a company that will let you intern and take it from there. There's a lot of learning involved in real estate. I don't know it all, trust me, I promise you that. But especially when it just seems like the world's going 1,000 miles an hour when you're first starting. So find a mentor for sure.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Millie Fry. I'm a senior agriculture economics major with a focus in rural entrepreneurship. My question to you is, what is your biggest piece of advice after graduating or after playing college sports, professional sports, into leading into, the business place, and how to gain beneficial relationships and how to take that next step in life?
I think, well, first off, I'll say this. If you're given the opportunity, and I know this is an entrepreneurship program, that some of you may go into the workforce, but if you're given the opportunity to work remotely or in the office, 100% work in the office. I think that's I mentioned it several times, networking. I guarantee you, if you're remote, you will get passed over for someone that is in the office. And I know you might not like that, but that's the truth. You're going to get passed over 100%. So I would definitely go into the workforce and be seen by the people that you need to be seen by. And also network with those people. Don't be afraid to talk to someone. And I think communication and being able to talk effectively with someone and to be able to network with someone is going to take you very, very far. And being in the office and showing your face around is going to lead you into those types of relationships that will benefit you for the rest of your life. Hopefully that answers your question.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Janae Browning. I'm a senior agricultural economics major from Seguin, Texas. My question for you is, you mentioned about during COVID, the Fed doing a great job with the rates and just kind of how they handled that process. So I was curious, with the election coming up, just real surface level, how does that kind of affect the commercial real estate investment and kind of your business?
Yeah, I mean, I think that just comes back down to the uncertainty in the market. Anytime there's tremendous amounts of uncertainty, and nobody wants to feel too confident about anything going on right now. And I think there's a little bit of that going on with interest rates, like mortgages, treasuries, the things that can fluctuate above the Fed rate. And I think the reason for that personally is the uncertainty in the market. And I give it a couple weeks after the election, I think we'll see what's going on there. I think there'll be some immediate ups and downs after the election. There'll be so much volatility. I don't play this world, but there's a measurement called the VIX that fluctuates with volatility. And if you wanted to take a big bet, you could bet on volatility for the next month or so, because I think that will be a volatile market out there for sure.
Seth, you mentioned going back to the office. The street noise is that there's a lot of vacant office space in downtown buildings because not everybody went back to the office. As you're out looking for deals and you see some of that office space, how far do y'all go on repurposing vacant properties? How do you look at those kind of deals? When do you walk away from deals? As you talk about, some of them last a while before they come to fruition, but a little bit into the mechanics of maybe the kitty know when to hold them and when to hold them.
Well, I'll talk about the VSE deal. There were, I don't want to not give away, but just talk about things I don't need to talk about. But there were a few terms when it came to indemnifications on the deal that we were just going to walk away if they didn't do what we wanted them to do. And it took there was a lot of back and forth, and then the tenant actually we agreed to that, and the tenant actually put some verbiage in the estoppel that kind of caught us way off guard, and we were like, again, we're not going to do this deal until we get that all settled. So we had to work with everybody, the tenant and the landlord, which is very, very difficult when you're dealing with a publicly traded company to get organized and to get right. But we were 100% going to walk away from the deal if we didn't get literally everything that we wanted. And we were able to do that, fortunately. And then there was, the offices. So I would say that there's value there to a certain extent. I have no idea what the office world is going to look like. I don't play in the big downtown office buildings. I know that there's a lot of hope for that area, and from what I understand, there's been a lot of haircuts in the office world. Luckily, hadn't had to take one yet, but yeah, I have no crystal ball when it comes to that. But I don't have a horrible. It just has to make sense, and I know there's a lot to that when I say it has to make sense, but I'm not out there just looking to do every office deal. But if I came across an office deal that made sense, and again, we talked about those things: below market rents, it's vacant, and still cash flowing, working with lenders and investors and things of that nature. But if it all came to be in the right picture, I would definitely not be afraid to do an office deal today. But it would have to be the right office deal. I wouldn't do an office with, excuse me, that was dark and only had like one tenant for a short period of time, and you were overpaying just based off of the rent. And I think people have smartened up, but during COVID, a lot of people were overpaying for deals, and I think they're paying for it now, unfortunately. So I think that, but I guess to get back to it, sorry, I'm rambling. But I wouldn't be afraid of office, but it would have to be the right one. I know that there are some people out there that are doing office to residential conversions, which I know nothing about, but I've heard about it. Like in New York, I know I've heard of big buildings being purchased and converting whole floors into residential. That's very capital intensive, and you really have to know your numbers inside and out if you're going to get into something like that.
Another question. What would be your advice for getting yourself to stand out as a real estate agent, other than the things you talked about that would make you stand out to your clients as either a buyer or a seller?
It's at some level, it's a marketing exercise. You have to be front and center. You have to have the signs. You have to have, and I talked about this individually, I think, with a few people. But when you send letters to get listings, you send letters, you cold call, and it's a daily basis, and again, a process. You have to put time block on your calendar to cold call, time block to sign letters when you're sending out letters to get property owners to take your call or to take a listing or whatever, and just to get a conversation. You could reach out to 100 people, you would probably touch base with 10 of them, and you probably get one listing out of that. But it just takes that over and over and over and over again every day to try to get those. Like, for instance, I don't really focus on that. I focus more on the looking at deals and acquisitions. But I look at countless deals before ever digging into one, and then even more than that before I submit a letter of intent and LOI to try to buy one. So it's slow. It's not for everybody. It's slow moving. It's repetitive. But I'll say this: it fits my ADD well because it's just something new every day, and I really enjoy what I do.
Dr. Marco, you said you would talk about football.
Yeah.
You've got the 12th man here. What's it like being on Kyle Field with the 12th man hollering in the stands?
It's we have the greatest student body on earth. There's no doubt about it. I think that Kirk Herbstreit says that in the introduction. And look, you won't find a bigger Aggie than me. I love Texas A&M. I grew up an Aggie. My grandfather was an Aggie, class of '49. My brother went here. My younger brother. I have all my daughters. Well, I have 2 in A&M right now, and 1 on the way in January. Thank you, Dr. Reister, for all the help that you've given me during that process, and my girls. But the 12th man, there's nothing like it, and I would encourage you, and hopefully you were there Saturday night. If you were, I know you felt how loud that was. I think my ears are still ringing from that. But I don't think there's any home field advantage like what we have at Kyle Field with the 12th man. And again, that leads into the Aggie Network. And not the success. The Aggie Network's always going to be there regardless how successful we are. I hope we're super successful. Hope we make the playoffs. I hope we get to host a playoff game at home. That would be a blast. But no, I think that being an Aggie is something special. And I think as an entrepreneur and this program that Dr. Reister has set up, I know that I'm not here to promote it, but I think it's a great thing. I seriously think if you're here thinking about it, I would absolutely do it or encourage you to do it. I think that it's one of the greatest skills that you can learn in life is to be an entrepreneur. It's not easy. It's not easy. I know his program's not easy, and being an entrepreneur is not easy at all. I'm not saying that it is, but I am saying it's very rewarding to you individually and monetarily. It could be, and I think it's a great program, great university. I don't know what else to say.
I think it's a good place to stop. They're bashful. I know there's a lot of one-on-one questions that they want to ask you. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good job. Appreciate you.